Hi everybody, welcome back to Low Tide and High Proof, where the sun's hot, the drinks are cold, and we always tell time by the tide. Well, week 2 of college football is now in the books, so it's time for another edition of Sunsets and Upsets. There was a lot going on this weekend, so let's jump right in. Mississippi State was picked to finish near the bottom of the SEC this year. Dead last in some previews. A rebuilding year, new faces, no expectations. But on Saturday night in Starkville, the Bulldogs didn't read from that script. Down late to number 12 Arizona State, Blake Shapen drops back and hits Brennan Thompson for a 58-yard dagger with just 30 seconds left. The place erupts, the goalposts come down, and suddenly the worst team in the SEC has just taken down a top 15 Pac-12 contender. And here's the real story. And this is what separates the SEC. Even the so-called bottom feeders can reach up and bite a ranked opponent. Top to bottom, the league is just built different. Mississippi State didn't just win a game. They reminded everyone that Saturdays in the SEC are never safe. Everybody knows the headline. South Florida 18, Florida 16. Biggest win in Bulls history, first ever over the Gators. But here's the twist you might not have heard. South Florida's kicker, Nico Gramatica, is carrying on a family legacy. His uncle, Martin Gramatica, was Automatica for Kansas State and for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers during his career, and his dad was a USF captain back when the program was just getting off the ground. Now, Nico steps into the swamp. He drills a game winner that silences 90,000 Gator fans. And here's the kicker, literally. Just 2 years ago, USF's special teams were a punchline. Missed kicks, blocked kicks, losses in the final seconds. Now, the program's identity just flipped on a Gramatica boot. Next week, it doesn't get any easier. The Bulls head to Hard Rock Stadium and take on the Miami Hurricanes. But if USF shocks the Canes, this won't just be an upset of the week. It'll be the start of a movement. Baylor looked dead in the water after last week's upset loss. But give the Bears credit, they bounced back in a big way, knocking off number 17 SMU 48-45 in double overtime. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and suddenly Baylor has life again. For SMU, though, this one stings. SMU's a program that's trying to prove it belongs in the playoff conversation, and they just got tripped up in non-conference play. And the road ahead, brutal. Clemson, Miami, Louisville, and a sneaky tough trip to Cal are all still on the schedule. So, while Baylor's season just found a pulse, SMU's playoff dreams may already be on life support. So, sunset in Dallas, upset in Waco. Colorado State came into the season hyping up its new air raid offense, sling it, score in bunches, and look like a Big 12 team trapped in the Mountain West. Well, against FCS Northern Colorado, a game they were favored to win by 34.5 points, this was supposed to be a showcase. Instead, a 21-17 escape act. The Rams managed just one offensive touchdown, sloppy execution, misfires, and no rhythm against an FCS defense that's not just a red flag, but it's a siren. And here's the sting. When you bill yourself as an offensive machine and barely squeak past Northern Colorado, that's not a win, that's a warning. CSU got the W, but the buzz around Fort Collins just got a whole lot quieter. Clemson started this season with all the hype, but week 1 was a gut punch. A slugfest loss to LSU at home that left the Tigers looking mortal. Last weekend, they did get right against Troy, but let's be honest, that was really more of a tune-up than a true test. Now comes the real moment of truth. Next up, a trip to Atlanta to face Georgia Tech, a team that many people believe are a real dark horse to win the ACC this year. The Yellow Jackets are fast, they're physical, and hungry to prove that the balance of power in this conference is shifting. For Clemson, this isn't just another conference game. It's the kind of matchup that will tell us if the Tigers are still a contender or if they're just another former dynasty fading into the sunset. So, sunset in Death Valley, upset in Atlanta, we'll know on Saturday. Kentucky came into Saturday's game against Ole Miss ready to prove itself, and they had a strong start, complete with 2 Ty Bryant interceptions that had them leading 10-0. But as the first half clock wound down, the Wildcats looked anything but composed. No timeouts left, miscommunication, penalties, and a failure to spike or throw the ball away. All of it wasted a prime field goal opportunity. The ESPN broadcast crew didn't hold back. These are the kind of things that, if you're on the hot seat, they get you fired, said Sean McDonough. And the offense and the game management at least is an issue, at least recently, said Greg McElroy. So Kentucky walked away, leaving 9 potential points on the field in a 30-23 loss that could have changed everything. And the real shocker, in the post-game interview, offensive coordinator Bush Hamdan offered nothing but deflections, and we've got to take a look at that lines when answers were needed to questions the most. So, is the sun setting on the Stoops era in Lexington? Time will tell. And finally, upsets and excitement aren't just for the big boys in the FBS. Last weekend, the FCS turned into pure chaos. 3 teams in the top 5 went down. Number 2, South Dakota State, last year's powerhouse, got clipped in double overtime by Montana State. Number 4, South Dakota, fell to Lamar in one of the biggest stunners of the season. And number 5, Incarnate Word, went down to Nichols 20-6. So for fans who think the FCS football is just filler, think again. These programs have talent, they have tradition, and plenty of drama. And when the dust settled, the top of the FCS looked every bit as shaken as the FBS. Sunsets aren't just in Tuscaloosa or Gainesville. Upsets are alive and well in the heart of the FCS. So there you have it. That's my take on college football for last weekend. So, I'd love to hear from you. What'd I get wrong? What did I miss? Be sure to comment below and let me know what you think. And as always, thank you very much for spending a few minutes to ride the tide with us today. Please help us out by liking, sharing, and subscribing, and we'll see you again at the next low tide.